Hello, my stunning, sexy aliens on the internet, and welcome back to another video, and welcome to the Gemini full moon. If you are new here, you want to watch the beginning of this video before you go skipping ahead to your sign, alrighty? Because everything you need to know is in the beginning of this video, all right? Like, that's where all the tea is. That is where you're going to get the most out of this video. I am spiritually intuitive, spiritually intelligent, and I channel things for these videos specifically in the first half of the video. So this is where it's going to relate to you the most. When we go over the rising signs, it's going to be very quick, very short, and way less eventful. So definitely listen to the first half of this video, and listening to your horoscope at the end will literally just build on top of the first half of this video. So just trust me on this, okay? Welcome to this Gemini full moon, last full moon of 2025, boo. And I'm liking this Gemini full moon, like, I'm not going to lie. Now, doesn't mean that it's not going to come with some twists, turns, challenges, potential plot twists, because it definitely could. It is squaring the nodes, and so we definitely could see that there are some things that are coming up this week that we have to address before we can move forward. And so, but I think overall, we are getting a lot of really interesting pieces to our puzzles that are going to be tying in a very major way, that are going to be kind of integrating and bringing in timelines throughout our past and throughout our histories. And I'll make all that make sense here soon, so don't worry. But either way, this Gemini full moon is really, I think, making something clear to us this week. And I really think that that's what it will be about for most people. I think that something is becoming clear. It's becoming clear what is either in our way, or it's becoming clear of something we need to do, a decision that we need to make, or we're getting more clear on who we are, or we're getting more clear on where we're going, or we're getting more clear on where we've been, or we're getting clear on like a lot of different freaking things at once. That's very Gemini as well, and likely will be the case for most people. But it can feel like a bit of a busy week. Okay, it can feel like a lot of things are hitting us at once, and that is normal with Gemini energy. You've just got to learn to hold the duality, which we're also going to talk about with this energy. But there's a lot of full circle moments that I think can come with this Gemini full moon. There's a lot of making sense of things that haven't maybe made sense for a while, or making sense of things from our past, or making sense of things that have been going on recently. It's like light bulb moments that finally click, puzzle pieces that finally fit in and show us a bigger picture of what's been going on. And I'm really excited for it, honestly. Like, I think this full moon is bringing us a lot of much needed clarity and much needed lessons and much needed comfort for our logical brains, because as humans, we definitely can live in the logical world, but as spiritual mother effers on this planet, okay, as sexy aliens on this planet, we can live in another world. We can live in the realm of spiritual intelligence and energetics and do a lot of things that don't make sense and that scare the hell out of our poor logical brains. And so having a Gemini full moon can be some comfort for the logical mind, okay? It can be some, like, a little bit of a comfort snack for our logical mind, so our logical mind doesn't feel so left out, and so our logical mind doesn't feel so much like, what the F are we doing and what is going on? Okay, so anyways, sit back, get relaxed, grab you a crystal, put it in your bra or wherever you want to put it, girl. Grab you a drink, get comfy, and let's get into this Gemini full moon and what is coming. It's a big deal, so listen up. Alrighty, you should be able to see my fabulous charts here on the screen, and we are going to first start to talk about this Gemini full moon. Now, I am going to jump a little bit ahead here, because I used to do, if you've been around for a while, you know I used to do what the fuck is a full moon and like yada yada. Stop doing that, because there's just so much astrology out there now. I feel like we don't need to go over the basics every time, but basically a full moon reveals things that have been hiding within our subconscious and really brings a lot of things to light. Okay, now I am going to skip a little bit ahead here and talk about something else. I'm going to talk about this square that this full moon is making to the nodes here. And I'm going to talk about why I'm talking about that first. So the reason I'm talking about this first is because it automatically shows us that we are at a turning point. We are at a halfway point. We are at a flipping the script kind of moment or point where we are coming across something that is much needed in terms of showing us where we're going. Okay, so it's almost like, I'm trying to think of a good example of this. It's almost like we've been treasure hunting, all right, without a map. Okay, and we finally come across this nice little old man, and he tells us that the treasure is that way. And so we finally have a little bit of like a like moment. We kind of have like a little bit of like a moment of making sense of where we're going. We kind of have a little bit of like a logical knowing of where we're going from here, or where the hell we've been maybe, or what's going on. You know, either he's giving us directions to the treasure, or he's telling us where we're at right now so we know where to go and where we just came from and where to go from here. So, but that's kind of how I see this. It's like we are running into a sign on our journey at in some point. Okay, we're running into a sign, and the sign has information on it. And we can either go this way or that way, or maybe even another way. But it's giving us at least information about where we've been and where we're at, and potentially where we're going. And it's also offering us kind of this turning point, or this shift, or this plot twist, or this like moment of, hey, we have to make a decision here. We have to figure this out, or we've got to do something here to be able to move forward. We've got to face this, or we've got to look at this, or we've got to figure out what this is in order to move forward here. So that is how I see this full moon being in a massive T-square with the nodes. And it's pretty much like, it's literally an exact T-square, because the full moon's happening at 13 degrees. The nodes are literally at 13 degrees. So it's in an exact T-square with the nodes. Now, we are in the halfway point from eclipse season. So this is also why our last eclipse season was in September. So now we are coming into the halfway point of eclipse season until the next one begins at the end of February of 2026. And so this is where we are kind of in this turning point. It's like, okay, we have been on a roll with something since September, which was a life-changing month. Like, I'm sure for many of you it was. If it was boring, then I don't know what to tell you. But if it was eventful, like it was for me, great. But now we're in that halfway point. It's like, okay, where are we going from here? What are we doing from here? It's brought us this far. Now what? So this is kind of giving us the option. Like, do you want to progress to the next level? Do you want to change and go this way? Do you want to go down a different path? Do you want to, what do you want to do from here? Where are we going from here is basically this Gemini full moon in a lot of ways. So even though it's not really aspecting much else other than the nodes, because it's aspecting the nodes, that tells me that this is kind of like a karmic ingredient in some kind of bigger plot. Okay. So it's likely bringing up what has been, I don't want to use blocking because I don't really like that word, but like, it's kind of bringing up what's been in our way on a mental level, on a logical level, on a knowing level, that we need to work through in some way, okay? And so it can also be bringing up concepts and our perspective on things, or the way that we've been thinking about things, or information, messages, etc. Because Gemini is an air sign, and it's a mutable air sign ruled by Mercury, which we'll go over in a minute. So the answers are becoming clear. Something is starting to become clear around this full moon, but there's also a slight pressure. There's also like a slight karmic pressure to it of like, we've got like this needs to be faced, or this is part of something bigger, or this needs to happen here for some reason or another. Okay. So we have that going on. Now, the other part about this is that with this Gemini full moon, a lot of the times it will bring up, because it's opposite of the sun here in Big Daddy Sagittarius. So, and Gemini is the opposite of Sagittarius in a lot of ways. Gemini is like, I want to go to a library and read books about adventures. And Sagittarius is like, I'm going to be the one that you're writing books about. I'm going to be on my own adventure, Now, obviously, there are more nuances to it than just that, but that's one way to understand it. But Gemini can be, especially a Gemini full moon, can be a lot about lessons learned, putting words to bigger things, bigger concepts, bigger experiences that we may not completely understand all the way just yet, because Mercury, the ruler of this full moon, is in Scorpio, where it is just getting done going retrograde, where it's been retrograde the last several weeks. And so Mercury's been drudging up the mud, drudging up the swamp, drudging up the deep, dark stuff that we haven't quite wanted to look at, or that has been out of our view in some way, or from the past, or like whatever. Mercury's been bringing all this stuff, like stirring the pot here, basically, okay, to where it's like been boiling over. And so Mercury, being the ruler of this Gemini full moon, can really show us that whatever is getting brought up here is likely from some kind of past experience, past emotional experience, past grudge, past thing that we've been attached to or that we've been clinging to or that we've been holding on to, past experience that we haven't quite been able to like make sense of for whatever reason. Like, it's like, why did that happen? Or that we've been stuck on, or some old doubt or some old fear, or some old trauma or some old, it's like, where it's almost like an awakening from trauma logic is how I kind of see this also in some ways. Like, it's like an epiphany where we've been like operating in this like old state, this old conscious state of trauma, or this old conscious state of like trauma logic. Like, you know, like when you go through trauma, you make things mean things that don't actually mean what we think that we mean. We're like, oh yeah, you're gonna hurt me, like I'll just hurt myself first, and then like what, you know, like it's like, yeah, like we make things mean things, and then we add defenses that aren't actually great for us because it's logical in a traumatic way, but it's not really great in a positive, healthy, healing way. Okay, so anyway, so we have this thing called like trauma logic, where we start making things make sense from a point of trauma, but when we're no longer in the trauma, we're like, that's actually not very healthy, you know. And so something like that could be coming up for some people as well this week. But either way, we're getting some kind of insight or information or perspective shift or way of seeing things from a new angle. Something, whether it's a conversation with someone, information or news that comes in, whether it's you're watching this video and boom, perspective shift, or whether it's, you know, it just happens on your own while you're driving in a car, or you're doing some deep scorpionic Mercury processing and then boom, something clicks. It's like there's something coming up here. Now, what we also have to remember with Gemini energy is that two things can be true at once with Gemini. Gemini is it's about duality. It's a mutable sign. So because of that, it a lot of the times, especially with the sign of Gemini, there's a doubling effect. So there's usually two different things going on at once, or we're coming across two different paths, or two different choices, or two different parts of us, or two contradicting energies in some way. And likely we've been dividing them or creating separation between them, or boxing ourselves in, or feeling like we need to be this one thing and not this thing, or whatever the case may be. And a lot of the times where we find freedom in Gemini is when we allow ourselves to be multidimensional and multifaceted, because we have more than one side to us. And even that side that we have that we're attached to, we're not that all the time. Okay, and so it's like we've got to accept our multidimensionality. We have many faces, we have many different surfaces. We're not just 2D individuals. And so I think that we may see that we have been dividing two things that feel contradictory to us, but that actually may go together, or that we may be able to find a way to accept. It's like, okay, that's your truth, but this is my truth. Can I allow your truth to be there? And can you allow mine to be there? Or, you know what? I really want to go after this thing I'm excited about, but I'm also scared shitless. Can I allow my fear to be there? And can I still be excited about this thing? Hell yes. Like, this is the moon in Gemini. This is about emotion, feeling, you know? So it's like, can we allow two feelings to be true at once? Yes, we can. And can we make sense of those two feelings this week for the Gemini full moon? Yes, we can. That is the Gemini spirit, okay? This energy can feel tricky though. It can feel a bit like a trickster that is making fun of you or playing jokes on you. And it's like very ironic things can happen, synchronicities that feel synchronistic, but also not like the, synchronistic, but sometimes the, oh yeah, very funny universe synchronistic, like that kind of thing. But either way, it's this Gemini energy is showing us where to lighten the hell up and where to not take things so seriously, okay? Because that's what Gemini is really about in a lot of ways. It's like, look, with this Sag energy, it's like you're already in your main character story. You're already writing this story of your mother effing life, okay? Gemini, this Gemini full moon is like, look, I'm going to give you some directions and give you some mental insights and give you some more words and ways of thinking about this as you're writing this, you know, huge story of your life. But I don't think that it's here to like completely jack us up, you know? Something else I feel like can be very, very strong, and I literally wrote this down last year for this Gemini full moon, and it's coming back around so strong this year, and it's our perception of timelines and timelines merging. And I know that sounds woo-woo, so before I lose you there, hang on a second. Basically, so many things can happen at so many times. Like, for instance, me going back and looking at what I was like writing down around the Gemini full moon last year, and it resonating, like it's like reading that gave me puzzle pieces that made the puzzle make so much more sense of things I've been going through for the last several months. So it's like, but I couldn't have known that then. I was just like, oh, I keep hearing these words, or I kept hearing this phrase, or I'm just like channeling random shit. So here it is. And it's like all of a sudden it's filling in gaps. And that's the thing. I feel like this Gemini full moon is filling in gaps. So it's like showing us, it's like, oh, this is why that happened 2 years ago, or this is why that happened last year, or this is why that happened earlier this year. This is why I went back. It's like timelines can start intersecting here in really beautiful ways, and we can start almost rewriting and rethinking about our past. Like literally it's like rewriting our past through us having an experience right now in the present, which then shifts the trajectory of our future and the timeline that we've been on, you know, before that. And so it's like everything is happening right now in the present moment. And like something else that's been really coming up for me lately is like distractions, like where we distract ourselves and therefore we fill space, the gap, you know, we fill that gap with things, and therefore we can't listen to our own inner voice. We can't listen to our own spiritual intelligence. We can't like channel or like, you know, get intuitive guidance from ourselves because we're constantly filling the gaps with other things and distracting ourselves. And so this Gemini full moon can definitely show us where we've gotten too busy, where we've been distracting ourselves too much, where we're not listening to our minds, and where we have conflicts going on within our minds and within ourselves that we've not been paying attention to, or that we've not been truly getting clear on. And so it's like the Sagittarius energy is like, move forward, let's go. But this Gemini energy is like, wait, we've got to sort out what's going on up here first. We've got to sort out like this conflict or this contradiction or this like these distractions or this, you know, whatever that's going on in my mind. Now, something else about this is that your relationship to anything in your life, whether it be love, yourself, your past, your future, your job, money, success, whatever, is a concept. So just like in the manifestation world, you hear self-concept. Well, there's your money concept, your job concept, your, what else did I say? Your relationship concept, your past concept, like your concept of time, your concept of the universe, your concept of why we're here, your concept of your day-to-day life, like all kinds of concepts. And those concepts are like your relationship to it. What you feed it, what it feeds you, and the stories that you tell yourself about it, and they're your feelings about it, how you feel about it, and it creates its own little bubble. So it's like, this is the bubble of money, and everything, all our patterns, emotions, feelings, stories, and everything about money is in here, and this is the bubble about love and relationships and all of the patterns and stories. And so, pretty much, your relationship to something creates your experience of it. So with this Gemini full moon, can really bring in our concept, because it's a very mental, you know, it's kind of like a mental thought bubble, our concept, which is our like perception, story, feelings about it, our attachment to it, etc. And so it can really bring up our concept of certain things. And this is a very Sag Gemini thing. So, and again, concepts are everything. Like that's why you hear so much about it in the manifestation world of like self-concept and all of that, because your self-concept is a big deal. It's your relationship with yourself. And if you are the divine creator, the closer you get to yourself, the closer you get to the divine. So that being said, you may notice there's a certain concept that is getting reworked here. So it could be your concept around your job, your concept around yourself, your concept around your past, or a particular time period within your past, particular timeline within your past, and how that timeline is intersecting with today's timeline to get you to realize certain epiphanies about certain things. So a lot of this is helping you basically on a very basic level make logical sense of very confusing emotions, very confusing experiences, attachments to the past, old traumas, old difficulty, old things that we have been hanging on to with that Mercury in Scorpio. And it's also trying to help us to hold duality, okay? Because again, that Gemini energy is so like it's so dual. It's like it's polarized, and so it's the twins, and it's a mutable sign on top of that. It's like literally. So basically, this is about learning how to hold many things at once. So the way that you could see this, right? And also asking why. Like I said before, Like Libra, the sign of Libra, you can think about it as like who. Scorpio, you can think about it as like what. Sag, you can think about it as like why. Like, why did all this happen? Like, what is, like, basically, what's it all mean? Why is this happening? And so, and that's where Saturn, or not Saturn, Sag gets its like philosopher, visionary kind of, you know, vibe. And so Gemini is very similar. Like I described Gemini in my astrology course as like the little kid that's always asking like why to everything. It's like, oh, an apple is red. Why? The sky is blue. Why? You know? And so, but that question can lead to a lot more answers and a lot different answers than what or how or where or whatever the case may be. So when we can learn to hold duality, and we can learn to hold two opposites, like, oh, I'm feeling really hopeful, but it's really cloudy out today and I've had some things happen that don't feel that great, but I'm also still really hopeful. Can you hold both without being like, oh, because I've had these experiences, now I have to completely allow this to come all the way up to the surface and let this go. I can no longer be hopeful. My life is over, you know? So it's like, can we hold two opposites or two conflicting things at once? And the more that we can do this, the more we train our capacity and stretch our capacity to be able to move through life with a lot more harmony and a lot more grace. Okay? Like this full moon is helping us basically see the past and see things that we've been going through or things that we've gone through before from a new perspective or many perspectives. Okay. And I think that so much of this is like, hey, all this has happened so that you could get here now and see this from this perspective. Like, have you ever had a moment like that in your life? Because they are truly like the most mind-blowing, awakening, like mind-altering experiences ever. It just hits you on like a soul level where it's like, oh my God, all of this has had to happen to get me to this point right here, right now, to see this from this very perspective. Because if I would have seen this before, I wouldn't have seen it from this perspective. But I had to go through everything I went through to be able to see it from this perspective. So like it all loops in on itself. Like it all just feeds itself. Like those are some of the most insane experiences, divine experiences ever. But when we can truly look at like, what perspective am I seeing this through? What is my concept about all of this? You know, why is this happening? What, you know, like where am I noticing these patterns? Where am I noticing these like same words or phrases come up over and over again? Where have I been distracting myself? Where have I gotten distracted? Where have I not been listening to this truth? Like, where have I not been, like, when we can truly look at this and we can look at like what concepts are basically dictating our present moment because of something that happened in the past. So like, again, our concept, which is like our stories, our feelings, our perception of something, whether it be ourself or our dreams or our job or whatever relationship, it's like, how is our view of it, that concept bubble, dictating our life now? Because it's holding something about the past that is misaligned. Maybe not necessarily true, but there's a new way to see it. And if we can shift that new way of seeing it, the whole concept opens up. Our relationship with that subject, whether it be love or success or money or whatever, all of a sudden shifts and becomes a more fluid, lighter frequency that we receive more from, all because we have now shifted this one experience from the past that we were holding on to and had this one perspective about that was keeping us stuck because that perspective wasn't really the highest truth that we could be seeing it in. And so we realize that a perspective shift is literally the start of all change. And this Gemini full moon can be a perspective shift. It can be a small one that makes a really big ripple, or it can be many that create almost just like a new energetic, clean energetic slate, or it can be a huge one for some people. Like it can be different things for different people. So just keep that in mind. And I know that this may not land with everybody, that like all of this stuff that I'm saying, because I know I'm talking about some like high level energetic shit right here, but this is what was coming through for this Gemini full moon. So sometimes we go through these things just to like experience and fully embody the perspectives that it brings us to. Like, so it's like sometimes we go through these journeys in life. Sometimes we go through these crazy experiences, this crazy life journey that we went through, you know, to fully embody the perspective that we have, that it eventually brings us to. But it's usually a range of perspective. So we may go through something hard, and then the perspective we have about it is like, oh, never want to go through that again. That was really difficult. I don't like that. I hate that part of my life. Ugh, get it away from me. And then later on, it's like, oh, okay, as we get away from it more and more, as we grow more and more, it's like, okay, no, I don't really see that as bad anymore, but I still not very like fond of it, you know? I don't see it as horrible anymore, but I'm still not very fond of it. And I still don't like who I was then, or I don't like what happened, whatever. And then as we grow more and more, at some point we can start saying, oh my gosh, like, I forgive myself, I love myself in that time. Like, I got her, she's coming with me. Like, I'm like, I see that time as sacred now, or I see how that was needed, or I see the higher perspective from it now, or it's the best thing that could have happened to me now. Or like, you know, we end up seeing it from new perspectives that get higher and higher and higher, hopefully, if we continue to grow and get more and more truthful as time goes on. But oftentimes we forget that our power is in the present. And so the things that we are looping back to in the past can drain our energy and kind of keep us stuck there until we resolve the perspective. It's usually because we don't have the higher truth yet. And so we're like, why did this happen? Why did this happen? Why did this happen? Why did this happen? I need the lesson. Like, what is it? And like, it kind of keeps us stuck there. And so, or we're like so in the future, like, I've got to prepare for my future, and I've got to prepare for this, and I've got to prepare for that. And if I don't do that, then that's going to happen. If I don't do that, then that's going to happen. That we're also not really moving anywhere because our energy is in the present. So when we're too far in the past and we're too far in the future, we are reaching too far out and basically feeling like, you know, like our energy can't be prominent and pointed right here in the present, which is where our power is. So we are getting farther and farther away from our power and from the source of our power, which is right here in the present moment. So oftentimes, as we move through life, we see our past from a new perspective, but it often starts with a perspective shift, or at least deciding that we're not going to allow our past to dictate our now any longer. And that if we start moving forward now and becoming open to moving forward now, then eventually our past will make more sense from a different angle. But if we keep using our past as an excuse not to move forward, not to do the things that we know that we desire to do, or not to do the things that we want to do, not to blaze the trails, then we stay stuck in loops and patterns. And so oftentimes we have walked this path to get to this place to understand both sides of a coin, or both sides of a lesson in some way, shape, or form. And so this full moon, in my opinion, is almost like putting a language to understanding something that our minds couldn't before. And so it's like bringing many pieces together, bringing many ingredients of the equation together to solve something that needed to be solved in some way. And so this can look like, on a very basic level, like I said, important conversations with somebody, speaking up about something that you've been holding in, finally giving notice about something, or announcing something. Maybe it's as simple as you're just like watching a movie and it literally like gives you a massive download about something you went through that helps you to see it differently now. You know, maybe you're listening to this and it's like gives you certain light bulb moments, which if that happens, please let me know down below. Thank you. Maybe it could be so many different things. Maybe news comes in and it shifts your perspective. Like, there can be so many different things that happen with this new moon in Gemini, but I'm really, really interested to see how it all plays out over the next couple days. Comment down below, sexy alien, if you watched till here. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. Also, If you didn't know, I have a membership and we are going to be doing a lot of really exciting stuff this month in December in my membership, talking about some of these higher energetic principles and how they relate to this Sagittarius energy and all of that, talking about the visionary manifestation, your big vision, like all of that. So you can sign up for as little as $33 a month and get transmissions each week and a challenge that we're doing this month, or you can sign up for the higher tier and get this month's program that will be coming out. So that is about all of this. If you are a Sag, if you have Sag energy, if you just really like Sag energy, if you just really like manifestation and some of these higher energetic principles and codes to like transform your life and live in your visionary and live in your big vision and like go after your big vision more, then this is for you. You can find the link down in my description. I love you guys. Thank you very much. And we are going to move on to what this means for your rising sign. Alrighty, Gemini rising. Hello, I hope you guys are doing well, and full moon in your sign. Lucky you. Full moon in the first house is always super enlightening. It kind of feels like, oh, this is where I've been. Like, this is what's up. This is who I am. Like, it's kind of that experience of feeling internally integrated within yourself again, or internally understanding where you've been or how you feel emotionally. So a lot of the times what may happen, and what may happen with this full moon as well, is like you may finally make sense of what you feel or what's truly going on with you. Maybe up until this point, as we've gotten further and further and further away from your sign since your, well, not since your birthday, unless you're a Gemini sun as well, but since your season back in like end of May into June, it's been a process. It's been a process. And now in Sag season, it's been about your opposite sign. So it's been about everything that is opposite of you. And so this can kind of feel like a time where it may be, or feel like it's been a little bit confusing for you, or it's even felt maybe a little bit like easy to lose yourself, or easy to forget about who you are, forget about what you want, or not even, maybe it's just like, I don't really know where I stand, or I don't really know what I feel about this, or I don't really know how I'm thinking about this. And so this full moon can make that really, really clear. It can be a time of like, oh, this is what's going on with me, or oh, this is my truth, or oh, this is what I want, or oh, this is the decision I need to make, or oh, this is the conversation I need to have. It's definitely like potentially also like a full circle moment, or like a moment of closure within yourself of like, kind of like feeling like how am I trying to say this here? Kind of like feeling like you've been getting maybe messages or pieces or intuitive insights for maybe the last couple weeks, or maybe even the last couple months. And like now it's becoming clear. Now you're seeing things clearly. It can feel like for this full moon, and it could have something to do with your relationships as well, or even your work life, your health, your day-to-day routines, especially with Mercury, the ruler of your sign, and this full moon in your 6th house in Scorpio. Like you could be doing a lot of purging, a lot of like getting down in the trenches with some like old dirty habits that no longer serve you, or old patterns that no longer serve you, or old routines that have just been feeling soul sucking. And this, like now that Mercury's done retrograding, you're feeling more and more aligned. You're feeling like things are making more and more sense, like you can move forward. And then this full moon happens and it's like, oh, okay, got it. Like, let's go. And so it's like, this is kind of that final, like, that final like bang for you of like, oh, this, like that final moment of clarity, like that final light bulb moment, that final light that's like, okay, this is where we're going, or this is what I've done, and this is why, and it's kind of like making sense in a lot of ways, I feel like, of like the last few weeks in this Mercury retrograde, and also helping you see more clearly, or at least feel more clearly, or be more aware of what you're feeling in terms of who you are in yourself and your body and your habits and your job and your work and your health and your wellness, but also your relationships, your love life, your friendships, romantic partners, etc. as well. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Gemini risings. Let me know down below if that resonated. Comment below, sexy Gemini rising, because you are. And we're going to move on to Cancer risings. For Cancer risings, this full moon is happening in your 12th house, girlfriend or boyfriend. It's happening in your 12th house. And so this is definitely a time where you could be noticing some disruptions or some insights or messages coming in your sleep, coming in your subconscious realm. This would be a really great time to do some meditation, to focus on where you've been distracted, but not even just consciously, but like subconsciously, like where you have subconscious distractions that are kind of running in the background that aren't actually like doing you any favors and that are keeping you away of what you actually want and the goals that you actually want to achieve in your day-to-day life, in your work, health, wellness, and day-to-day routines. Okay, so this Gemini full moon may be really showing you where there's a lot of background static, a lot of background noise going on that is just not in congruence with where you're trying to go. And so this may be like a process of like a mental detox or social media detox maybe, or getting more clear about what behind the scenes patterns, subconscious patterns are causing you to repeat certain cycles or patterns that just are no longer in alignment with where you want to go and what you want. This could be a very, very insightful full moon for your dreams though. Like you could find a lot of messages, symbolism in your dreams. Definitely. It could be really showing you also where you're kind of hung up, where you're kind of holding back a little bit, or where there needs to be some kind of shift or turning point in terms of your beliefs and in terms of what you actually believe and how you look at the world. Now, the ruler of this full moon, Mercury, is in your 5th house of Scorpio. So this could also be showing you where you have some unconscious and potentially toxic, or at the very least just unaligned patterns, habits, again, addictions, or even attachments that are just not healthy anymore. Like maybe partying, or again, it could just be that you're scrolling too much, or you're addicted to some kind of level of intensity that is actually distracting you and keeping your mind in a place of chaos instead of keeping it clear and focused on, going after what you really want in life. So that is what I'm saying for you guys, Cancer rising. Let me know down below how that resonated. Comment down below, sexy Cancer rising. If you watched till here, I appreciate you. Moving on to my fellow Leo risings. Hello, darlings. This full moon for us is happening in our 11th house. This is such an interesting time of year, an interesting full moon. With it being in our 11th house, it definitely can bring up like our network of our social lives, basically, like our network of friends, different groups that we belong to, or that we're participating in at this time. Those could be online groups, in-person groups, like any kind of connectivity with other people that are similar or have a something in common with who we are, what we desire, what we like, what we're doing, etc. So this could look like, going to a yoga studio, or going to like a craft fair, or going to a concert, or going to a friend's house, for like a game night or something. Like all could be very Gemini 11th house. It can feel like a busy time, or like more of a social time. Like maybe more people are trying to make plans with you this week, or more people are reaching out to you. Maybe it's a little bit more social. But on the other side of that, I think it can also be like the 11th house can also be very much about like our aspirations and like how we kind of see the world socially and collectively. And so this full moon can also bring up kind of a sense of like, not only like, with the sun and Venus and Sagittarius, it's very much like bringing up our heart, our passion, our sense of vision, our sense of ambition, our sense of like, where do we want to have fun, and where do we want to be more free? Where do we want to be more wild? And this full moon and more creative, and even more sexual or more playful or more romantic, etc. But this full moon in Gemini is also showing us how we can translate that into our social lives, or into messages, or into conversations, or into bringing people together, or into like putting these things that we enjoy or that we like out into the world. Could also be kind of closure on, for some of you, for like something that like an ending to something that you were once a part of socially, where there was a shared passion or shared interest or shared hobby or something shared there that is kind of coming to an end for some of you. That could be it as well. And with Mercury and Scorpio in our 4th house, this could be potentially us getting vulnerable about our feelings, like publicly, or getting, kind of more honest, or putting something out there that it's coming from like a deep place. Maybe making like a post on social media that ends up being from the heart, or ends up being very raw and vulnerable, or that we end up putting something out there as, something like that. It's like it's almost like we're doing some inner work to eventually bring it somewhere else, bring it maybe more to a public level or to an audience or to people that understand it or whatever, but it's still kind of marinating. And so that's kind of how I see this right now. But anyway, we could be like sharing something private publicly or something public privately, if that makes sense. So it's like we could be inviting people, like maybe we normally go to like a yoga studio, for instance, so maybe like the yoga studio is closed down. So and they're like, oh, we don't have anywhere to go this week because the yoga studio is not going to be. And so you're like, oh, well, I'll host it at my house. Like, just come to my house. And so it's like you can bring like the public into your private life, or bring your private life into the public life in some way, shape, or form here with the astrology that we have around this time. So that's going to be very interesting. I'm anxious to see how this ends up playing out for us. I've been getting a lot of downloads and all kinds of stuff lately, so you'll have to let me know down below, Leo risings. Comment down below, sexy Leo rising, because you are. And we are going to move on to Virgo rising. For Virgo risings, this Gemini full moon is happening in your 10th house. Okay, so this is definitely either bringing up something to do with your career, a very insightful event, or maybe an inner knowing, or maybe a light bulb moment, maybe news, maybe information, maybe a change, or it could be bringing something to an end or bringing something to a close, like closing out a cycle, closing out a chapter. Maybe you're finally getting out of training for a new job or a new position, or maybe you're ending a phase of your job and moving into a new phase. Either way, there's something going on here with your public life, and it may even not be career related. It could be that, similar to kind of what I was just saying for Leo, with Mercury and Scorpio, like maybe you share something that's usually private or vulnerable publicly. Maybe you put something out there, like you share the news, or you share something that's normally emotional or close to your heart, but you decide to share it publicly or put it all out there. You decide to make a post or make a video or something like that. For others of you, this could be information or news about a job or about a career or about a career path, or you really contemplating what it is that you want to do with your life, your legacy, like where you're going in the world, etc., and what that looks like and what those steps are, and actually like why and maybe how to do that, like creating some kind of plan, And so there's like a focus on like your private life, your home life, and wanting to feel more comfortable there. But there is Pen is trying to take my shirt off here. But there is also this kind of spotlight coming, or this like, light coming with this full moon in Gemini that's like, hey, there's something to do here with your career, future, public life, long-term goals. Maybe you get clear on a goal that you have for your future. It could be several different things. This could also be like a meeting that you get called into for work, where something comes out in the open, or there's news announced, or where you are learning a new set of skills for your career, or where you're going. Like this could be so many different things. Location, something to do with location or travel with your career as well. So you'll have to let me know down below, Virgo risings, how you're seeing that play out with this full moon in Gemini. I'd really love to hear your feedback. Let me know down below. Comment sexy Virgo rising, because you are. And we are going to move on to Libra rising, darlings. You sexy animals, you. Okay. Hello, my Libra risings, and welcome to your Gemini full moon horoscope. So this full moon is in your 9th house, bringing to light, or at least something to the spotlight, to do with your higher belief systems, travel, foreign pursuits or foreign countries, or things out of your comfort zones, adventures out of your comfort zones, potentially language barriers, travel barriers, anything to do with education, educational pursuits, or just simply your beliefs, morals, and principles on life, your integrity. And especially with all this Sag energy too, I really wonder, are you traveling? Are you taking a short trip? Where are you going? If you are, let us know down below. And have you been dealing, if you've already been traveling, have you been dealing with a lot of delays and setbacks with Mercury retrograde? It's no longer retrograde at the time of filming this, but maybe you were traveling for Thanksgiving, or you had family traveling to you, one of the two. There can be a difference in beliefs here for the Gemini full moon. So what I will say, if you're a Libra rising, is there can be a lot of conversations around beliefs and opinions and perspectives and information and news and what is going on in the world around this Gemini full moon for sure. It can feel like a very busy social like time, you know. It can almost feel like exactly how like the TikTok app feels when you log on to it and like you just scroll, but if it's like all of those, if like instead of scrolling there are just multiple videos like playing at once, that's kind of like Gemini. It's kind of like Gemini, and we're not going to have it to that extent. It's just a full moon, but it can feel like all of a sudden maybe your phone's blowing up, or you're just noticing a lot more busyness in the social realm, or you're having a lot more conversations and opinionated conversations with people. I will say, like, especially with family, you may find, well, I mean, I don't know, Venus is in Sag, so it may help you if you get into some debates. I think you could possibly do it in a classy way. I mean, I think you could do it in a classy way, but I'm just saying, like, in terms of the astrology, I think also with how the astrology is, it could be done in a classy way as well. But either way, I think that this Gemini full moon could be showing you a different side, or it could be very much like maybe you're doing something, like you're going through something in your own personal life or in your local environment and that's going good, and then you get some kind of news about something that's going on out of your range of local environment, like out of your local range basically. And it's kind of like, can you hold the duality? Like, can you hold like, okay, this is my personal life and this is like what's going on with me on a day-to-day basis versus this is my life on a bigger scale. A Gemini full moon can also show us where we've been very distracted and what really matters to us and what's really important to us, what's really valuable for us, especially with Mercury in your second. Like, what are your priorities here? And have you been getting too distracted or kind of losing yourself in things that are going on? This could also be you learning a new subject or a time of learning coming to a close, or just shifting in some way, cycling out in some way. This could be, like a lot of kind of what you're learning from here, and maybe learning new skills, learning new concepts, learning to think in a new way, shape, or form. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Libra risings. Let me know down below how that resonated for you. I'd love to hear your feedback. We're going to move on to Scorpio rising. So for Scorpio risings, this full moon is happening in your 8th house, darling. So this full moon can definitely bring up a lot to do with finances, and potentially a lot of conflicting or contradicting or dual circumstances or situations to do with finances. So this could be maybe you, especially with Mercury in your sign, like you could actually be the one instigating this or encouraging this. Maybe this is a time where you're actually like sitting down and getting very analytical or getting very clear about what's going on financially. Maybe you get news, and it could even be positive news about something to do with your finances. But it could come from you kind of initiating, or from you kind of putting something out there, putting feelers out there because of Mercury in your sign ruling this full moon. So that tells me that like Mercury being in your 1st, the moon, this full moon happening in your 8th, it's like you are learning to kind of take your power back in terms of finances in some way, or in terms of transactional situations with other people or interactions with other people where there's something shared there, whether it's energetic or whether it's physical. There's definitely something here. And you're also like really learning about what is a priority to you, what is important to you, what matters to you, what you want to take risk on and what you want to take chances on, versus where you need to be more logical, more thoughtful, more rational about things, more clear-headed about things. And so this can kind of have you looking at some of the places in your life that maybe you haven't been wanting to look because they seem hard or they seem difficult, but you end up realizing that it actually brings you a lot of clarity, and it's actually not as hard or difficult or dark as you thought it was going to be. And so that's kind of how this feels for me. If you're a Scorpio rising, let me know if that ends up resonating down below, darlings. Let me know how that Mercury retrograde was for you in your 1st house, your 2nd and 1st house as well. I definitely want to hear it. Comment down below, sexy Scorpio rising. If you watched till here, I appreciate you guys. Moving on to Sagittarius rising, darling, my spicy Sages. This full moon is in your 7th house. What am I saying? 7th house. And so this is definitely about relationships, darling. Especially what I said in the first half, I talked about how everything's a concept, and a concept is basically like your concept about something dictates your relationship to it. So everything is about your relationship to it, whether it's your relationship to another person, your relationship to love, your relationship to money, your relationship to success, your relationship to your job, your relationship to you. Just like there's a self concept, there's also like your relationship concept or your love concept or your money concept. And so definitely go back and listen to the first half. If you missed it, you are definitely missing out. But I definitely think that this full moon is bringing up your sense of entanglements with other people and your relationships with other people, what you think about them, what they think about you, conversations that need to be had in these areas, and information that needs to be revealed in this area, and where there could be some contradictory or certain lessons that need to be learned here with other people, and where some things have been happening in the subconscious and the dark, or that have been repressed. Mercury ruling this full moon in your 12th house. So your partner could be mirroring back to you where maybe you've been repressing certain things, or where they've been repressing certain things, where certain things have gotten kind of like pushed under the rug, so to say, and now this is the time to address them. Now, this could also be maybe you have certain habits that are toxic or no longer healthy, or maybe your partner does. This could be really showing you that very clearly for this full moon. This could be a lot of different things, like, I don't want to say that. On an extreme level, this could be, obviously the 12th house can deal with that, which is kind of hidden or subconscious or like behind the scenes. And with Mercury being there, but just getting done retrograde, and the moon being in Gemini in your 7th house, it's like, how are these two places of your life correlating? What is repressed or subconscious or going on behind the scenes? What has a hold over us that we don't always realize is controlling us versus our relationships? Maybe some of you are in a relationship that feels unhealthy or that has a hold over you, that you need to be exorcised from. And maybe others of you aren't. Maybe it's literally like, I've had a smoking habit and I've been keeping it from my partner, and I probably just need to tell him, something like that. Now, this could end up being a very positive shift for you guys if you can truly hold duality. And I mean, that's obviously not saying that you should not have boundaries or not have standards. That's not what I'm saying. Obviously, if it's a healthy relationship, okay, then I think if you can hold duality and have honest and deep and vulnerable conversations and not repress things or hide things or hold things back, this could be a very positive full moon and shift for you for your relationships, okay? Something needs to be resolved here. This could also be like maybe a relationship from the past. Maybe it's not even a current relationship. Maybe an old relationship is haunting you guys, or an old experience of a relationship is still haunting you, and that is what is coming to the surface for this full moon so that you can release it or make sense of it in a new way. Like, that could be it too. So you'll have to let me know down below, Sag Risings, what it is for you. I'd love to hear your feedback. Comment down below, sexy Sag Rising, because you are. And we are going to move on to Capricorn Rising. So for Capricorn Risings, this full moon is happening in your 6th house, darling. So this is about your work, health, wellness, day-to-day routines, where you basically the maintenance of your day-to-day life, like how you keep up with your day-to-day life and the maintenance there that needs to be done to keep up with it. So this full moon is shining a light on all of the little things, all of the little areas that you need to get clear on, or make some changes on, or make some notes of, or make some mental shifts about, to really change your life and to start accomplishing your goals. So this isn't like the big goal itself. This is like the small tasks that lead to the big goals. And so when you get clear on that and you truly actually, change those things, shift those things, move those things around, all of that, that's when you can start accomplishing the bigger stuff, okay? This is also showing you where you may get distracted, where you may need to go on like a bit of a social media cleanse or detox. This is showing you where, you could feel very busy at like work or just in your health, work, day-to-day life this week in some way, getting a lot of phone calls, a lot of communication, and you could be craving a vacation with all the Sag energy in your 12th house. It's like, I just want to run away. I just want to get away. This is too busy. I'm sick of all these like little, like minuscule tasks. Like, it's tedious. Like, I just want to get away. And you're close. Okay. So after this full moon, I think it will, as the full moon wanes, I think it'll calm down some for you, but I think it definitely could be showing you some things that you need to get clear on that are a bit unorganized in your day-to-day routines, Capricorn, that you may want to work on. And also where you may need to say no to some people, or where you may need to shift how you're responding to some people. With Mercury in your 11th house ruling this full moon, it's really bringing in your social life, teams, collaborations, friendships, networking, any connections you have with other people. So with this full moon, you could also be really learning where some of that is also in some way contributing to some of the other things that I named. So let me know down below, Capricorn, if that is accurate and what you are noticing come up this week for this full moon. Comment down below, sexy Capricorn rising, because you are. And we're going to move on to Aquarius rising. So for Aquarius risings, this full moon is happening in your 5th house of Gemini. This is a fun, flirty house. You may really notice this could be a time where you are feeling like you want to get more clear on your mind. You want to get more clear on what's mentally going on with you, but also you're getting more clear on your creative endeavors, your creative pursuits, your passion, your hobbies, and your interest, and what you want to connect with people around, and the things that are close to your heart. Okay. Because once you get clear on that, then you get clear on who you can connect with around shared interest, hobbies, whatever. But also, even more than that, you can feel clear within yourself and within your own being about your heart, and about life is so much more than just going to work and dying. And this is the 5th house. It's but are you having fun? Are you being lighthearted? Are you joking around? Are you being funny? Are you playing games? Are you laughing? Are you having a good time? Are you watching the movies that you want to watch? Are you entertained? Are you entertained, darling? If not, it is time to get mother effing entertained. Okay? It is time to get entertained. It is time to do something. It is time to do something fun and entertain yourself. And yeah, so this could be you getting back to something that you love, or something that you're interested in, or something that is fun to you, that you hadn't gotten to do in a long time. This could be kind of finishing out a creative project you've been working on for a while, or kind of realizing something about something that you once loved to do. So this could be reading, writing, anything to do with that, especially with the Gemini energy. So this is going to be a really interesting full moon for you guys. Let me know how that's playing out. And also this full moon itself has to do with your career, your destiny, your long-term goals, your vision for your future, what you're working towards in your life, your direction, because Mercury is there in Scorpio, and Mercury is the ruler of this Gemini full moon. So it's the revelations and the realizations you're having about what you like and what you love and what you're passionate about and what you're interested in, and your heart and fun and entertainment are all also contributing to and affecting somehow your career and the direction of your life, and how you're thinking about your legacy and your future and where you're going from here. So let me know down below how that is relating, Aquarius rising. I'd love to hear your feedback. Thank you very much. Comment down below, sexy Aquarius rising, because you are. Don't be modest. And we are going to move on to Pisces rising. So moving on to Pisces risings, this full moon in Gemini is happening in your 4th house, darlings. So this is a full moon that is really making the private stuff very, very in your face and seen. It is bringing out the private area of your life. It is really focused on the private area of your life. So that can be your home, that can be your past, that can be your foundation, that can be your family. Things going on in your home life pretty much can really be coming up this week. I feel there's a lot of busyness here all of a sudden. There's a lot of chores that need to be done, or errands that need to be ran, or your family members are calling you nonstop. Something like that could be going on, or there's you're reorganizing your house or something right now. But either way, this full moon in Gemini is really showing you something about your home life, and really bringing in kind of this spotlight on your home and your past and your foundation, and potentially your ancestry, or where you come from. For some of you guys, could be visiting back home, which could be far away for some of you, especially with Mercury being the ruler of this full moon being in your 9th. Or you could have parents that are from far away visiting you, or family that's from far away visiting you, staying with you in your home this week. You could be traveling from school, living abroad and going home, something like that for different ones of you. But either way, this is definitely a full moon that really brings in this focus on family and conversating with your family, you know, information with family, like connecting with family and your home life and what's going on in your private life and all of that. So that's going to be pretty much the focus for you if you're a Pisces rising. So let me know how that relates down below, Pisces rising. Comment down below, sexy Pisces rising, because you are, darling. And for my lovely Aries risings, this full moon in Gemini is happening in your third house, darling. So this full moon can definitely create a busy week for you where you have a lot going on. There's maybe a lot of errands, a lot of running here, there, everywhere, maybe a lot of shopping, a lot of people calling you, your phone blowing up, maybe some annoyances with traffic or, you know, driving or something along those lines with the full moon in the third. A lot of plans, a lot of short trips or short travels, or like going here, going there, like going everywhere. So you can feel like a bit of a busybody this week for this Gemini full moon. Maybe you're doing a lot of Christmas shopping, maybe the family's in town, or you're going on a short trip to see some family, or maybe you've got to give some people in your family some rides. You know, it could be a lot of different things, but it could just feel like a busy week. And maybe there's not much going on actually physically on your schedule. Maybe it just feels very busy and overwhelming or distracting at times. But either way, this full moon can also be showing you about important conversations that need to be had, important tasks that you may need to complete, important news that you may need to be aware of, and just kind of like a time of like reorganizing in your day-to-day life and your day-to-day lifestyle within your, you know, local or day-to-day environments that you frequent in, and what needs to be kind of looked at or reorganized here, or where your perspective needs to change on something here in some way, shape, or form. You may get back to remembering kind of something from the past, or almost like rewriting something from the past, or something along those lines. You may also be dealing with something financial with Mercury and Scorpio moving direct and ruling this full moon in Gemini. So this could have something to do where you are, you know, kind of working something out financially, or a financial agreement with another person, or a financial contract with another person in some way, shape, or form for some of you as well. But that is basically what I'm saying for you, Aries risings. There could also be some stuff that comes up with siblings or cousins or even neighbors, with this being the third house as well. So just kind of be on the lookout for that. And yeah, that is what I'm getting for you guys. Comment sexy Aries rising down below, because you are. And we're going to move on to Taurus risings. So for Taurus risings, this full moon is happening in your second house of your finances, priorities, and all your assets and the things that you own, have the resources that you have, and where you may need to start thinking about them differently, where you start to notice maybe a perspective shift, or some aha moments, or some news, or some information, or some epiphanies going on about your finances, your resources, your assets, or even certain skills that you have, or certain skills that, you know, you've not been using or utilizing in some way that you're coming back to or remembering. And so this can definitely be a time where you are noticing some financial stuff coming up here in some way, shape, or form with your second and eighth house activated. Now, this financial stuff could also have something to do with your significant other, your partner, your marriage partner, your friendships, or another person in some way, shape, or form, a business partner, with Mercury being the ruler of this full moon and being in the seventh house. So this could involve some deep conversations about finances with another person. This could involve some, you know, news about finances with another person. This could involve some negotiating or getting something right, or ending something financial with another person. You know, kind of even maybe you and your partner got a car forever ago, and one of you guys co-signed for the other, and now that car is finally paid off, you know, on a full moon in Gemini or something. You know what I mean? Like, there could be some kind of closure with it as well, or just some kind of epiphany or revelation or something coming to light. But either way, there's something here where it's like, okay, it is you're coming into awareness to do with something with your resources, your assets, your money, and it somehow involves another person or somebody that you're in a relationship with. Okay, so let me know down below what that may be, Taurus rising. I'd love to hear your feedback. Comment down below, sexy Taurus rising, because you are. And that is all. That is all 12 signs. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful Gemini full moon and week ahead, and I will see you next time.